At dawn on August 29, 2005, the wind didn't just howl, it spoke. It rattled windows, tore at rooftops, and whispered a warning that New Orleans had heard before, but never quite like this. The city sat below sea level, wrapped in water on all sides, trusting a system of levees built to hold back nature's worst moods. That morning, as Hurricane Katrina made landfall, that trust would be tested and found heartbreakingly thin. Katrina didn't begin as a monster. It started as a tropical depression near the Bahamas, the kind that forms every year and usually fizzles out over open water. But warm ocean temperatures acted like fuel on a fire. The storm grew, reorganized, and by the time it entered the Gulf of Mexico, it had space to breathe and strength to spare. Meteorologists watched the numbers climb. Category 1, Category 3, Category 5. The words potentially catastrophic appeared in forecasts, a phrase rarely used, heavy with implication. New Orleans knew hurricanes. The city had survived Betsy in 1965 and countless near misses. There was a cultural muscle memory to preparation, boarding windows, stocking food, waiting it out. But Katrina wasn't just another storm. The real danger wasn't the wind, it was the water. New Orleans was, and still is, a bowl. Rain and storm surge had nowhere to go except in. As evacuation orders went out, the roads clogged almost instantly. Cars stretched for miles, bumper to bumper, engines overheating under the August sun. Not everyone could leave. Some lacked cars. Some were elderly or sick. Some believed the levees would hold, as they always had. Others stayed. Because New Orleans wasn't just a place, it was home. A web of neighbors, memories, and music you don't abandon easily. When Katrina finally arrived, it didn't strike New Orleans with its strongest winds. The eye passed east of the city. For a moment, it seemed like the worst had been avoided. Buildings stood, streets remained visible. There was damage, yes, but not the apocalyptic scene many had feared. Then, hours later, the water came. The levees failed in multiple locations, not overtop failed. Walls designed to protect the city collapsed inward, allowing Lake Pontchartrain and surrounding waterways to pour into neighborhoods. With relentless force, water rose fast. In some places, it climbed feet within minutes. Houses filled like bathtubs. Cars floated, then sank. People retreated to attics, onto rooftops, anywhere above the rising tide. Here is one of the most haunting truths about Katrina. The storm itself killed fewer people than what happened after it passed. 80% of New Orleans flooded. Power failed. Communication collapsed. Emergency services were overwhelmed. The city went quiet in a way no one recognized. No traffic, no music. Just water and the distant thud of helicopters. At the Superdome, meant to be a shelter of last resort, thousands gathered. The building had been advertised as a safe haven, but it wasn't designed for what followed. Food ran out. Toilets overflowed. The roof peeled back, letting rain spill inside. Rumors spread faster than facts, and fear filled the gaps left by information. Across the city, people improvised rescues. Neighbors broke into boats. Fishermen from nearby towns arrived and asked, untrained and unstoppable, forming what later became known as the Cajun Navy. They navigated flooded streets using memory, an instinct, pulling strangers from windows and rooftops. In a disaster defined by systemic failure, individual bravery shone through. Nationally, the response lagged. Images broadcast around the world showed American citizens stranded in their own city, holding signs that read "Help US." Questions mounted. Why were warnings not acted on sooner? Why were the levees so fragile? Why did it take days for meaningful aid to arrive? The answers were uncomfortable. Investigations revealed that the levee system wasn't just old, it was poorly designed and unevenly maintained. Some walls were built on weak soil. Others weren't driven deep enough. Funding had been cut and diverted for years. Katrina didn't expose a single failure. It exposed a chain of them, stacked one on top of another. The human cost was staggering. Nearly 2,000 lives were lost. Hundreds of thousands were displaced. Entire neighborhoods, especially historically black and lower-income communities, were wiped out or left uninhabitable for years. Families scattered across the country, unsure if they'd ever return. For many, New Orleans became a memory rather than a place, and yet, the story doesn't end in ruin. In the months that followed, something else emerged, anger mixed with determination. Residents demanded accountability. Engineers redesigned flood protection from the ground up. New levees were built, higher and stronger. Pumps were upgraded. The city, bruised but breathing, began to rebuild. Still, Katrina's legacy lingers. Population patterns changed. Cultural institutions struggled. Trust in government never fully recovered. When storms approach the Gulf today, the anxiety isn't abstract, it's personal, inherited from experience. Perhaps the most unsettling lesson of Hurricane Katrina is that it wasn't inevitable. Nature delivered the storm, but human decisions shaped the disaster. A city survived the wind, but drowned in neglect. Katrina forced a nation to confront how vulnerability is distributed, how warnings are ignored, and how quickly modern systems can unravel today. When the wind rises over New Orleans and the rain begins to fall, there's a pause, a collective memory stirring beneath the surface. Katrina is no longer just a hurricane. It's a reminder, etched in the streets and stories, of what happens when preparation meets complacency, and when a city learns, too late, that survival depends on more than hope. Because hurricanes pass, water recedes, but the echoes of that morning in August still move through the city as quietly and persistently as the tide. Thank you for watching. If you found this story important, please consider sharing it and subscribing for more deep dives into the events that shape our world. See you next time.